All right, I want to get right into it before we bring on our guest conversations today. Liz Cheney has been removed as number 3 in the House Republican caucus. She, of course, is the sole representative for Wyoming, and Republicans haven't been too pleased with her, but not for the reasons that the media has been trying to present. And that's what makes this particularly interesting. So she was removed last week. I think the vote was Wednesday or Thursday. And then on Friday, Elise Stefanik, the 36-year-old congresswoman from upstate New York, became the number 3. She was voted in as the 3rd ranking Republican in the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, both of these ladies were on Sunday shows yesterday, along with a couple other members of the House of Representatives on the Republican side. And I want to start today by playing a montage of 4 individuals: Liz Cheney, Congresswoman Cheney, Congresswoman Stefanik, Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, and Congressman Dan Crenshaw of Texas.
You know, we cannot do that if we are embracing the big lie, if we are embracing what former President Trump continues to say on a nearly daily basis, which is claims that the election was stolen, using the same language he used that he knows provoked violence on January 6th. In order for us to be in the strongest possible position to be able to prevail, to be able to defeat the ideas that we see coming from the other side that are really bad for the country, we have to be a party that's based on a foundation of truth.
She is looking backwards. Republicans are looking forward. We are unified, and we are talking about conservative principles. President Trump is an important voice in the Republican Party. We are working as one team, and voters across America, certainly voters in my district in upstate New York, we believe that President Trump's results, whether it was the economic growth, whether it was the historic accords in the Middle East, whether it was being tough on China or the bipartisan coronavirus relief packages, these were significant results that helped everyday Americans. We are focused on moving forward, but also the stakes are so high. Look at how radical Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi's policies have been.
You cannot, on the one hand, say that Donald Trump is a leader or the leader of the Republican Party, which I believe he is the leader of the Republican Party right now, because Kevin McCarthy gave him his leadership card. You can't say he's the leader and then say we have to move on. I would love to move on, Chuck, but listen, when Liz Cheney, probably on a total of maybe 4 or 5 times, just simply answered questions that the election wasn't stolen, and then Donald Trump dozens and dozens of times says it is, it's not Liz's fault.
And I'm going to agree where I agree, and I'm going to disagree where I disagree, and I refuse to allow this drama to engulf us. That's what Kevin McCarthy was saying. I fully agree with that. And there's no point in relitigating some of these things. Look, I say this to Liz and I say this to Adam. You're not going to get the colleagues who believe in that stuff to apologize to you, to agree with you.
So the narrative has been that the Republicans in the House decided to remove Liz Cheney specifically because she was condemning the idea of stop the steal and the idea that the election was stolen. Now, I don't think that the election was stolen. However, that's not the issue that actually is animating most members of the Republican caucus. What's animating the Republican caucus here is the fact that Liz Cheney is not doing her job. She has been, or had been, as the number 3, the Republican caucus chair. She had been constantly talking about this issue and acting in a divisive way when she's supposed to be bringing the caucus together. She's supposed to be uniting members of her caucus in common cause, in an effort in particular to go against and challenge the current president, Joe Biden. Her role, her specific responsibility is to rally the troops in an effort to combat against the radical left-wing agenda. And she has been failing in that particular endeavor, not actually unifying the troops, so to speak. The editor-in-chief at the Washington Examiner, Hugo Gurdon, recently wrote a column that I found very interesting and I think laid out a lot of these concerns pretty darn well. Most congressional Republicans don't want Trump back. They want him to fade away, right or wrong. They think the party will have a better chance of winning in the future if it can move beyond Trump without alienating his supporters. Recipients should always ask, cui bono? Who stands to gain? And it's not difficult to answer the question in that case. For those who ostensibly want to guide the GOP to a better path, offer precisely the same advice about denouncing Trump as do Democrats who want Republicans to fail. Look, I'm a Trump advocate. I supported his reelection bid. This is a matter in the Republican caucus of leadership, of cohesion, and whether Republicans want Trump involved in the party or not, they want to be able to focus on the agenda at hand. And Liz Cheney has been a distraction in that regard. A previous guest on this show, Keith Nobles, I think put it very well. He said that Liz Cheney wants people to believe she is getting fired for a reason that is not the actual reason she is getting fired, goes to the very core of why Liz Cheney got fired. The job Liz Cheney had was to bring unity to the caucus, promote the success of the caucus, find consensus in the caucus. She did none of that. In fact, it is quite arguable that she made every effort to destroy that and prevent it from occurring. And that's how you get Elise Stefanik as the new number 3 in the Republican caucus. Because Liz Cheney didn't have her eye on the ball of unity, of combating the Biden agenda, the radical left agenda that we see in Congress right now. It's not about whether she supported one idea of elections or another. It's not about the viewpoint there. It's that she's constantly drilling that in, and she's focused on a man who's no longer in office as president of the United States, Donald Trump. So regardless of where the Republican caucus is on President Trump, their goal right now is to combat Joe Biden. And that is not what Liz Cheney was trying to do. And that is the real reason that she was removed, not because she doesn't believe that the election was stolen or that there was widespread voter fraud and other things along those lines. That's the fact of the matter, no matter where you come down on the election stuff. Now, we're going to take a break here on Jimmy at the Crossroads. When we come back, my interview recorded just a little while ago with Dr. John Eastman and Randy Corcoran. And I wanted to have this conversation because it deals with what's happening on college campuses in terms of cancel culture and whether or not we can discuss ideas and have conversations on things that are controversial, especially when you have a guy at a campus like University of Colorado as a visiting scholar who was one of President Trump's attorneys in the election fight. To me, it's not about that. Like I said, I believe Joe Biden is the legitimate president and that the election was not stolen, although that is not the same as there were not issues in the 2020 election that need to be addressed and redressed. The issue here, though, is about freedom of speech and whether or not you're able to talk about these topics that are seminal in our moment. I don't care where you come down on this. That's the question here. That's why we got Dr. John Eastman and Randy Corcoran coming up here on Jimmy at the Crossroads. Stay tuned.
Talking politics, great for generations. Oh, what a mix. I got Jimmy at the Crossroads, making sense out of no sense. Yeah.